Hi, and welcome to Dinim number 30. I am your host, as always, Rabbi David Katz. All right, this is the pre-Passover edition. We're going to be off next week, and then we'll pick it up in the counting of the Omer era after the holiday, right? Let's go. We're going to do some review from last time because I went over Shabbos, the learning Torah part, and I think that was the major revelation last week, right? Type 1. And I'm not going to get into the whole issue again, but I am going to iron it out a little smoother, one or two parts. Green Book. If you don't know what a green book is by now, then you need to go back a couple classes and figure that out. They are allowed to learn their 7 laws. Type 1. Hurry up. Hurry up. Get on the horse. Let's go. Type 1. Okay, let's go ahead and recap the Iker terms real quick. Put your thinking caps on. Is learning Torah a literal expression? Type 2, no, it's not. Type 2, no, it's not. Type 2, no, it's not. It's an Iker expression, which means it's jargon. The expression learning Torah is a reference to a Jewish person's scriptural command to learn Torah. It's a theoretical learning because the Jew does not have to commit or practice the mitzvah or din in order to get reward for learning the Torah. Type 1. Only a Jew has a command to learn Torah. I'm talking command. If a Noahide had command to learn Torah, how many Noahide laws would there be? Everyone type 8. Everyone type 8. Everyone type 8. But there's not 8 laws. There are 7 laws. This is called the Pshuto. This is called reality in text, not reality in literalness or in realityness. Type 1. The Lubavitcher Rebbe then says, the Bnei Noach have a mitzvah of Talmud Torah vis-a-vis their 7 laws. Hence, a non-Jew who learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. A Kohen Gadol has more mitzvahs than a Jew, regular. So, too, the Ben Noach has more than 7 who learns Torah. Why? Because it's like there's 8, even though there's 7. So if I'm a Ben Noach and I learn Torah about how to not steal according to the way a Jew would not steal at Sinai, I have 7 mitzvahs like you, Mr. Akum, but it's like I have an 8th. My stealing is Sinai. Your stealing is a goy who steals is killed. Type 1. Type 1. So if a Ben Noach learns Torah, that is not a literal expression. Remember that, Iker term, like a Jew, he is Chayiv Misa. Is that literal? Type 2. Type 2. It's not literal. Why? Because it's by the hands of heaven. And what is he guilty for by the hands of heaven? Stealing. Thus, just like a Noahide who literally steals is put to death, a Noahide who figuratively steals but does not really steal, what's that called? Lefi Pshuto. What did he steal? The commandment to learn Torah like a Jew. But he didn't literally steal, so we don't literally kill him. But it's considered like stealing, Lefi Pshuto. What does Rambam mean in Hilchos Malachim, chapter 10, Halacha 9? A goy who learns Torah is Chayiv Misa. Exactly that. So can they learn Torah at all? That's not a literal question. It's an Iker question. And the answer is yes. They have a mitzvah of Talmud Torah according to their 7 mitzvahs. Type 1. So then is their learning Torah the exact same as a Jew? Because that would be a contradiction. And we know it can't be. Why? Because Lefi Pshuto Torah is not literal and it works like a puzzle. Type 1, because it works like a puzzle. So a goy that learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. I thought a goy that learns Torah is Chayiv Misa. What kind of learning Torah do they do? That is not a literal question, is it, Chuck? Type 2. No, that is not a literal question. Justin Becker, is that a literal question? No, it's not a literal question. It's a Lafib Shuto Iker question, i.e., how do we justify a non-Jew learning Torah on the Iker level? Because there's not a mitzvah of the sons of Noach to learn Torah, is there? No. But we know that they can learn Torah on their 7, like a Jew at Sinai. And they become like a Kohen Gadol. How is that possible if learning Torah is forbidden? Because in their 7 laws, they are allowed to learn even like a Jew type 1, vis-a-vis the 7 laws. So when David Katz learns how to not steal, Justin Becker can learn also in his own home in America, like a Jew, how to not steal, and I do not need to be there. Type 1, Justin. But it is preferable if I am there. Why? Because iron sharpens iron. You, having mitzvah to not steal, you can help me realize my theoretical learning and vice versa. Correct? Type 1. It is preferable to work together. That's why we were created. Now, back to the question. Can we actually teach Torah or have non-Jews learn Torah? Is that possible? Is that a literal question? Am I asking literally, or is it an Iker Lafib Shuto question? Is it an Iker Lafib Shuto question or literal? It's Iker Lafib Shuto, which means we don't say, wow, they can't even learn Torah. No one said that. It's an Iker term. In the Pnei Yeshua says, Eloshaynu tam achiluk vaday nira mitzad esvaret de b'shar mitzvah shelorot stava yesh la'ani shemesa midexi Torah sivilanu Moshe v'lolehem. The Torah is for Jews, not for non-Jews. Type 1. Lafib Shuto. Type 1. But when the non-Jews have 7 laws like Israel, i.e. they take their permission to learn the Torah of their 7 laws like a Jew at Sinai, so that Noahide would learn how to not steal exactly like a Jew would learn how to not steal. It's the same Iker Lafib Shuto type 1. Then the Torah that Moses commanded me, the Jew, is the same Torah that God commanded the Bnei Noach. And that's why the Brisker Rav says that they work together in learning the Torah even on a Jewish level, type 1. The so you have a Havamina. I would have thought the Goy cannot learn Torah. Type 1. That's not literal. Type 1. It's an Iker. Type 1. It's Lafib Shuto. Type 1. So we would say that according to all of that, a non-Jew still cannot learn Torah. That's the burning question in all of our dogma and draconian circles. Type 1. He says, Adarabba, it's the opposite. The Noahide is all about doing the law. The Jew that does not necessarily have to do the law, correct? Learning is enough for the Jew, type 1. But the Noahide was created to do, right? We will do and we will listen, said the people. The Noahide is meant to do, type 1. Well, says the Pnei Yeshua, how do you get one to do if not from Torah? Learning brings one to action. So thereby what he's saying is, even though it's not a mitzvah, we don't make the Noahides do the mitzvahs. Why? Because their Kabbalah was taken from them, and they need to reclaim their Kabbalah, type 1. How do they reclaim their Kabbalah if Beis Din is not available? By learning the Torah in order to perform their mitzvahs. Therefore, they get the mitzvah of Talmud Torah to their 7, and they will end up doing their 7 from doing the Torah. That is akin to a Kabbalah. They can do any mitzvah according to the halacha, and that would be considered an upgrade from Akum ben Noach to Ger Toishev. Type 1. To become Ger, you'll say, but there's no Ger Toishev today. That's why the Rambam calls him a ben Noach, as if to say, not a complete Ger Toishev. Are you with me? Are you with me? All right. And the Chasim Sefer Roy Kishalayimid, the Hegevarazoela Gedela Kayama Mitzvah Yad Halacha and Yasum Maisik. You are learning the Torah that you do in order for Maisa, to do the law, not in order to learn Torah. Does the Bnei Noach learn Torah for the sake of learning Torah? I.e., hey, learning Torah on a theoretical level is great. Therefore, I'm going to learn Torah on a theoretical level because learning Torah on a theoretical level is great. No Noahide ever said that. They learned the Torah, even theoretical Jewish Torah, in order to do the mitzvahs. Type 1. Kiman shekol atzmo, seichel atzmo, shel iso ha'esik, ein ela l'kayim mitzvah. You're not learning Torah to become smarter and more theoretical. You're doing it in order to fulfill the law. Ein adif mekiyum ha-mitzvah gufei. Ein adif mekiyum ha-mitzvah gufei. The be'idna lo asiba, lo megina, lo matzli. The ein lo hamayla shalim ha-Torah. And I struggled with this one on Shabbos. Let me see that again. Kivan seichel atzmo shel oso ha'esik ein no elu l'kayim ha-mitzvah. The seichel or intellect that you derive from Torah, because Torah gives you seichel. Type 1, you are to use that seichel in order to perform the law. That's why you were created. The Jew was not created necessarily to use his seichel for doing laws. Do you know why? Because a Noahide can make an offering, for example, and that's why he's called a Kohen Gadol. The Jew cannot make an offering, therefore I cannot use my intellect in order to do the law that I learned, so I apply my intellect to learn more theoretical laws, and when I meet a Noahide who can do more laws than me in some aspects, I give over my abundance of Torah intellect to him so that he can do a mitzvah for the sake of heaven, to bring nachas ruach to God in the mitzvahs that he can do, even more than 7, because a non-Jew who learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. Type 1. Is that a literal term or an Iker term Lafim Shuto? A non-Jew who learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. Is that a literal term or an Iker term Lafim Shuto? Iker term Lafim Shuto. Ein no adif mikiyum ha-mitzvah gufei. Ein no adif mikiyum ha-mitzvah gufei. To be idna lo asiba magina lo v'tzav ein lo amayla shalim in Torah. It is not better for you to learn Torah and not do the mitzvah. It is better for you to do the mitzvah and to have done the mitzvah from learning Torah. Ad kon l'shayne. V'kein k'suv ha'chas v'sefer Torah is Moshe. K'yesh l'chalek bein Isaac and Torah k'dei liyada halachas eich l'kayim ha-mitzvah ta'az alimud rak heksher mitzvah v'lo adif ma-mitzvah gufa ad kon l'shono. All Torah learning is not better than just doing the mitzvah. The Noahides have a great bracha from God. Do you know what that bracha from God is? It's called, they can do mitzvahs that even Jews can't. And there's nothing greater than being able to perform the law. So learning Torah is not the end goal, is it? No. Learning Torah is a construct to bring anybody, Jew or non-Jew, to fulfilling the law. So you don't learn Torah and stop. You learn Torah where you can fulfill the law. Type 1. The mutter lehem asma Torah mitzvah nogei lehem ela the mutter mishum ha'isik ba rak dei liyada holachasei chashi ha'isik b'mitzvah. It's not that you're allowed to learn Torah, and that's an Iker expression, isn't it? Type 1, because that's an Iker expression. It's not that you're allowed. We're not saying, can a non-Jew learn Torah? Is he permitted to learn Torah? If I say, but a non-Jew that learns Torah is Chayav Misa. But David Katz said he can learn Torah. No, David Katz didn't say that, and they are not allowed to learn Torah. Are you allowed to learn Torah? Iker Lafim Shuto, type 2. No, you are not allowed to learn Torah. Iker Lafim Shuto, type 2. Iker Lafim Shuto, type 2, you are not allowed to learn Torah. What are you allowed to do? You are allowed to be involved in the mitzvahs, though, aren't you? You are allowed to be Isaac in the mitzvahs. That's an Iker Lafim Shuto expression, type 1. And how do you get Isaac in the mitzvahs, Jacques? How do you actually invest yourself in the mitzvahs? Is that called learning Torah? Yes, it is. Yes, it is learning Torah. Is that an Iker expression, or is that a reality, literal expression? That is actually literal and reality, because the mitzvah of learning Torah on an Iker Lafim Shuto level is only for the Jewish people. And therefore, you have what is called the reason to learn Torah in order to perform the mitzvah, or be Isaac in the mitzvah. A Jew is not bound to be Isaac in mitzvahs, type 1. A Jew is not bound to be Isaac in mitzvahs, type 1. A Jew is bound to be Isaac in Torah, type 1. A non-Jew is bound to be Isaac in mitzvahs, type 1. So the non-Jew is Isaac in mitzvahs, involved in mitzvahs. In order to help his cause, he really needs to get into the Torah. Isaac invest, Isaac invest, Isaac invest, type 1. So if the non-Jew is to be invested in Torah for the sake of invested in mitzvahs, the Jew is already invested in the Torah. How does the Jew get invested in mitzvahs? Did you ever think by maybe cooperating with a non-Jew? Type 1. And that is not Lefim Shuto. That is literal, type 1. How we doing? How we doing here? Yeah? Good to go? All right. It is a little fast. We're doing review. All right. But if you're going to learn your Sheva mitzvahs for the sake of Sheva mitzvahs, and you want to be invested in the Sheva mitzvahs, so you hang out with Torah environment, type 1, can you really learn like brisk, Svei Dinim? Can we learn brisk by the Noahides on their 7 laws? Af Masha Ina Nogeya Ladina. And how about even, let's say a Noahide does an offering, and Brisk tells you how to do an offering. They actually might or might not. We're making this up for context, my little mushal here. But let's say that there's a way to do an offering on Mars. Type 1, because you can do an offering on Mars. Type 1, because you can bring an offering on Mars. But the Noahide is probably not going to get on a spaceship to Mars. Type 1, because you're probably not going to Mars. Am I, the Jew, allowed to teach you how to do an offering on Mars? Because the Torah taught me, theoretically, if I happen to be on Mars, this is how a Noahide would do the law. Type 1. Am I allowed to teach you? Kivan the Chalek Torah Shenagela Mitzvah Sheva B'nei Noach Nitna Gam Lehem. Kivan the Chalek Torah Shenagela Mitzvahs Sheva B'nei Noach Nitna Gam Lehem. What does that mean? The Rag Lefi Atam Arishan. Skip the line. It says Af Masha Ina Nagela Dina. The Rak Lefi Hatam Arishan Shel Hapanei Yeshua Mutter Kivan the Chalek Torah Shenagela Mitzvahs B'nei Noach. Yes, anything that is shaykh to you, you can learn on the deepest level. So a Jew Lefim Shuto learns the Torah, type 1. A Jew Lefim Shuto learns the theoretical Torah, type 1. And a non-Jew is to be invested in 7 mitzvahs, type 1. Can the non-Jew who is invested in 7 mitzvahs learn the entire Torah of a Jew theoretical if he can figure out how to enclose that theoretical learning Torah Lefim Shuto of a Jew into his 7 laws? Can he do that? Yes, he can. Yes, he can. So basically, if you can be creative enough to prove to me that serving the Almighty is akin to the whole Torah, and you have a mitzvah to serve the Almighty and to not serve idolatry, can the whole Torah be given over in that framework? The answer is type 1, yes, it can. But you are then expected to believe in God. Shituf then is not possible. The Jew has a mitzvah to learn the whole Torah and can learn the whole Torah. But let's say a Jew, chas v'chalila, became invested in Shituf. Would a Jew then be forbidden to learn the Torah? No, he would not be forbidden to learn the Torah. It would be tragic, but he would not be forbidden to learn the Torah. But if a non-Jew did not believe in God and was in the Shituf, would he be able to do the Iker Lefim Shuto, learning the Torah theoretically like a Jew? Type 2, no, he can't. Type 2, no, he can't. But if we want to learn, how do I not steal? And if I learn that Adam Arishon stole from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, yada, yada, and we can make a case that the whole Torah can be an expression of don't steal from God. Can the non-Jew in his Sinai version of non-stealing, can he learn the entire Torah of a Jew, theoretical, on the Iker Lefip Shuta level? Can he learn that entire thing to better himself to not steal on these Yisrael level? Type 1. Type 1. But then he's expected to not steal. Type 1. If he's not going to really makabel on himself to not steal, can he then learn the entire Torah, i.e. to learn how to steal better? Obviously not. In the Achrayim, there are two ways of viewing this. Ben Yehuyada, in Chagiga 13a, which is where we find can a non-Jew learn Torah or not in the Talmud. Ksav de gar b'sheva mitzvahs aser lomod imahem elo halachos pesukas but there is aser v'lo lamaser lehem time imayin sham. So you all have a mitzvah to not steal. Type 1. Type 1. I can tell you everything you need to know about not stealing. Type 1, even on a Jewish level. But when it comes to stealing on Mars, the Jew can know and the non-Jew can't, because you're not going to Mars, so I can't teach you that. That is a Havamina. Type 1. That is a theoretical question we are asking. Type 1. Nearer the cyber, the time of the mutterland will mod halacha shiva mitzvahs who v'shum the aina mikri limud Torah came on the kavanas of limud who rakli they are dinim. The premise is you can only learn what you can actually do. Exactly, Justin Becker. The Ka'ain Zek Sabbath Defense Israel, the Terif Bazeh, Masha Kasev, Shagoy Mutter Lahakriv Kurban, the Kozman, the Kulmakom, and Mutter Lahiris Lahem, and Seder Krava. Remember, that is just a theoretical question that we are asking. Why? Because are we right now learning the theoretical Torah of a Jew? Type 1, type 1, type 1. Right now it's real live. And therefore, in my Jewish theoretical Torah that is applied to you, therefore, can you learn it? Therefore, can you be here right now learning it? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And we want to ask and answer. Can they actually learn Dinim for them, but they might not be able to actually do the Din, even though it's related? Type 1. And then we say, but they can offer an offering all the time. If we say we can't teach you Torah, then how is it that you're able to do an offering when you are able to do an offering? But Torah zelo shows shahiris ha'maisa bli tam lo nikshav limud. Wait a minute. Shahiris ha'maisa bli tam lo nikshav limud. So if you say that I don't tell you the reasons of Mars, type 1, I edited out the Mars tractate, then that's not called learning Torah, is it? Type 2, no, that's not called learning Torah. Rabbi Katz, the Jew, Lefim Shuto, learned Torah about Noahides on Mars, but he didn't teach us that, so therefore, did you guys learn Torah? If I left out Mars, did you learn Torah? No, type 2. So therefore, are you guilty of a goy that learns Torah is chayav misa? No, because you didn't learn. You didn't learn. What you did was you invested yourself in the wisdom that enabled you to be invested in your mitzvahs. Type 1. Avav mitzvahs davik sav l'dayek l'rambam Heperik Yud helps Malach the Rambam Sham Shakasav Mutter Lanu Haraisu Lana Ech Yasu. But there's another opinion that says we can teach you whatever we need to teach you in order that you will be able to do your laws. Type 1. That the Rambam Chidish Bezeh the low rock lo harisa mutter elegam l'manatim mutter kivan the karbana shayak v'beinoyich. The way that the actual Torah law works, I am not merely allowed to teach you anything. We, what's he say here? Chidish Bezeh the low rock lo harisa mutter But so don't say that I can impart Torah to you, but you can't learn Torah. Type 1, if you understand that. Don't say that I can impart Torah to you and I can't teach Torah to you and that you can't learn. Type 1. Rather say, yes, even they can learn the Torah concerning their mitzvahs, because they can bring an offering. So just because you think that there are theoretical aspects that they don't have, that's because you're not a Noahide, Mr. Jew, and you don't know the full scope of their mitzvahs and dinim. So thereby, don't edit out their works. You can teach them the entire inyan as long as it's related to them coming to do the din. Type 1. They can even learn it. So therefore, what about a goy that learns Torah's chayav misa? That would mean what? When it's not related to him performing the din at all. Type 1. B'shut matana chayim kas. Demasha amru, the goy ha'isib b'Torah chayav misa. What does it mean then? A goy that learns Torah's chayav misa. Hainu b'pilpul v'svara, the az chayav misa, v'gein masha kasav ataz. Galei birkas ha'asib b'divrei Torah, hu b'pilpul lava asik. Ava b'shiva mitzvah shalhem, murta lehem afilo ha'isib b'iyum b'pilpul. The rock b'shar tayag mitzvahs iyum ha'isib b'hem b'iyum b'pilpul chayav misa. The murta lemad b'hem dafka b'shtachis. Okay, can you learn Torah even like a Jew on your mitzvahs? Alone and with a Jew? Yes, yes. Can you learn that same theoretical Torah in the Taryag mitzvahs that are not 7 by yourself? No. Type 2, no. But can a Jew who's with you in the theoretical teach you theoretical even if you're not going to do it? Yes, type 1. Because if I'm teaching it to you, that's not called you learning it, is it, Lafib Shuto? If I teach you, you are not learning it, type 1, Lafib Shuto. And then you say, so we're subservient to the Jewish people. No. Did you ever think that a Noahide only wants to do what he can do? And if he can do what he can do, does he need a Jew to teach it to him? No. Can he then learn? Yes. Does a Jew need to be there? No. Can he learn like a Jew? Yes. Type 1. It's called divine ping pong, people. Divine ping pong. Do you understand why I call it divine ping pong? Because in the world of the Lafib Shuto, it always works out. Venero the kind who shitas yavitz shekasav dama shamru goya is with Torah. Chayim Isa Hanu she yoish with Dorish Baba Vorish. Stimuseo Mashaya Royal Israel Amru Goidavu Yazachaboy. The Hanavada getting Gazela Ababalav Hachi Lo Hashu guys of a low Hasser Biade Ad Kalajoyinu. So the Isser, the problem of a non-Jew learning Torah, if a Jew has a perplexed issue that is strictly Jewish and theoretical, can the non-Jew then go in and answer that issue and make it doctrine by him? That is what it means? No. A non-Jew is chayav misa for learning Torah. Meaning you do not get into things that you don't need to get into. And I won't get into things that I don't need to get into. And the whole bottom line is everyone really wants to know, what do we need to get into alone and together? Type 1. Is that not normal? Is that not what we're trying to find out? What do we need to do in this world? So here's the answer. Ein Sham Hari the Slaver the Dafka Legalis Land Sidis for time in us. Aval is Boynin Begideri Hamitzvah Shalhem Lachakol Droshman Lavin Dvar Batov Dvar Mutter. So can you get into the theoretical Kabbalah that is completely divorced from you doing the mitzvahs? No. Can you learn Kabbalah on the highest level that is related to you doing your mitzvahs? Type 1. Now, let's even go a step further. I believe that there's a group of Noahide Ger in Texas learning Kabbalah. Am I right about that? Type 1. And it seems that they're learning Kabbalah and people don't know if it's allowed. Type 1. And let's agree that group would be a case in point example that we have non-Jews learning Kabbalah. If they are learning it right, that would serve as a benchmark of what is right. If we deem them wrong, then they are wrong and we need to correct them. Type 1. Can we, here, we'll take a vote. Ready? Russell and Mike, would you agree or disagree? Would you say that the Kabbalah that they're doing is predicated on doing the law or not doing the law? Doing the law. What does Russell say time and time again? Spiritually know what you're physically doing. Is that not the essence of what they're doing? Spiritually know what you're physically doing. They're not interested in spiritually knowing what they're not physically doing. Are any of you spiritually interested in what you're not physically doing? You want to know why you're not interested in that? Because that's called lafib shuto. Hey, Justin, a Jew has a mitzvah to learn Torah, lafib shuto. Do you want me to tell you more about that? Want to tell you more spiritual things that we're not doing? Hey, let's learn more spiritual things that we're not doing. Or would you rather learn the pshat in what we're supposed to do and having spiritual knowledge of what we're supposed to do? Thank you. There you go. Torah shviksad mutter madol misol yilam gavosh mazeu. The Moshe Rabbeinu kasam b'Torah be'er hey tizayna Moshe v'lishon. Aval Torah shbal pei tami ador mitzvahs asher l'man l'goy. They kasev lo asekena kol goy mishpadim. Okay, we did that. She'im mekayim agoy shar mitzvahs mutter afos of Torah b'hilchus. Then we bring in the Mary. So do we have to keep our 7? Or if we follow the template, can we keep even all 613? Says the Mary, that if the Mekayim, if the Goy fulfills all the mitzvahs, it is allowed even to be invested in the Torah and the halachas of those mitzvahs to do them. So how does a Goy come to learn the entire Torah like a Jew? If they want to do all 613 like a Jew. Type 1. That's pretty tight right there, isn't it? Isn't that pretty tight right there? That's pretty tight stuff. Bottom line is there's 2 ways to come to learn the Torah. God gave the Torah to Israel theoretically, and to the Ger, they can have a Kabbalah Sinai when they agree to do the mitzvahs. The Jews, it is considered as if they have accepted all the mitzvahs. The non-Jew, it is considered available, everything, and they have to want to do the mitzvahs. So you have one person who wants to do, and one person wants to know he can do. Which one's better? It's not a contest, and it's not about better. It's just, where's your soul coming from? And we're not talking the Jewish soul, the non-Jewish soul, and my soul's better than yours. There are male souls and female souls. Is that a literal statement or lafib shuto? That's called lafib shuto. What if you want to do all the mitzvahs in theory and just learn Torah? That's called a convert. Can you convert? Absolutely. Go convert and be happy. What if I don't want to convert? Then you're ger. What is a ger? Someone who wants to do the laws, does the laws, and learns the Torah so he can do the laws. So would you say this lesson could help someone decide if they actually want to convert? 100%. A convert, there you go. All right, we're caught up on the learning Torah part. Now we're going to go to where I intended to go. Had we started where I wanted to start? Okay. Ein mekablin gerim. Here we go. Now, remember what mekablin means. Every Jew that you meet will tell you that mekablin means we accept. Type 2, because it doesn't mean that, does it, Jock? How many of you know what a subcontractor is? Type 1. He's called in Hebrew a kablan, right? It's someone contracted to do the job. So if I have a Noahide come to my shul, and I'm not talking technically now, okay? I have a Noahide come to my shul, and let's say that there's a Noahide framework in my shul, right? The Noahides, they sit in the back of the shul, and they serve the food and the meals. I know we're being a little bit derogatory here. Bear with me. Right? Noahides serve the food and the meals, and they sit in the back of the shul. So a non-Jew comes to my shul, correct? And I say, are you a Christian, idolater, or are you a Noahide? Type 1. Type 1. He says, I'm a Noahide. So then would it be understood contractually? He knows his place, I know his place, and there's no fear, there's no injustice. He has a job and a function, I have a job and a function. That's called Mekablin. That's called Mekablin. So when we have Ger Toshav Mekablin, can a Ger Toshav be a Shabbos Goy? No. So you come to me and say, Rabbi Katz, I'm a Ger Toshav. And when we do the Shavua and based in all these things, you are a bona fide Ger Toshav. You're Mekablin. My neighbor came over and said, hey, Rabbi Katz, have the Goy make me some coffee. Type 1. I reprimand my neighbor, and I say he's a Ger Toshav, he's not a Shabbos Goy. Are we explaining this literally or Lefip Shuto? Are we explaining this literally or Lefip Shuto? Are we explaining this literally or Lefip Shuto? Hello. Hello. Let's go. Is this explained literally or Lefip Shuto? Lefip Shuto. Why? Because I don't view the good Gerim of the world limited to a discussion of can you or can you not make my coffee. That is a Lefip Shuto analysis, type 1. That is a Lefip Shuto analysis, type 1. How do you define a Goy in the laws of Shabbos? Someone who does malacha on Saturday. Is that a true statement in literal reality? No. Generally, people have more issues to themselves than do they or do they not do malacha on Saturday. But in terms of a Lefip Shuto discussion, how do the laws of Shabbos understand the role of a Gentile in the world? A Goy is someone who does malacha on Saturday. So if I am a Jew on Shabbos and I am not doing malacha, type 1. I am a Jew who I was defined, Lefip Shuto, I don't do work on Saturday. And I see someone outside mowing their lawn. Is that a Goy? Type 1. Is that a Goy? Type 1. How do I know it's a Goy? Because he's doing work, malacha, on Saturday. That's how we know him. Right? This is all Lefip Shuto. This is not derech eretz and nice and grace and charm. So now, if we have the Ger Toshav in our world, and somebody says, hey, it's Shabbos, I need my lawn mowed, and someone says, ask your Ger Toshav friend to mow my lawn, does that work with Mekablin? Or does Mekablin say he is to rest on Saturday? We make him rest on Shabbos. Today is the day of rest of God. Do you understand that? 1 or 2? There you go. Okay, so we don't know who's a Ger Toshav today to be Mekablin because we don't check. Right? Even though Rabbi Katz might know and Jacques might know, but if somebody came to me today from Indonesia and claims to have rejected Yeshu, and I don't know that person, do I have a responsibility to believe him? No. Type 2. No. If it's a time of Jubilee and Israel has the upper hand and someone comes to me from Indonesia, is Israel required to check him out? And if he checks out, Mekablin him, and if anyone works him on Shabbos, the Jew is in trouble. Type 1. Type 1. Type 1. Do you understand Mekablin? Mekablin means put to work, and I don't mean laborious work. I'm saying it's like it's activated, right? It's activated. The Muslims are trying to do Sharia law. Type 1. Type 1. The Muslims want to do Sharia law. The problem is Sharia law is not activated, right? So is the Muslim trying to be Mekablin his Sharia law? Type 1. Yes, he is. Type 1. Yes, he is. Is the Jewish nation trying to make their oral Torah Mekablin? Type 1, yes, we are. Type 1, yes, we are. But why can't we? Because we don't have a temple, a Messiah, or the upper hand. If we had the temple, the Messiah, and the upper hand, we would implement Torah law. That would be called Mekablin. Now, if you reject idols, and you know you rejected idols, are you Mekablin between you and God? Type 1. Yes, you are. And if you convince me that you're Mekablin with God, am I allowed to acknowledge and honor you, Makablin? Meaning, when it comes to making me coffee on Saturday, do I have to remind you not to make me coffee? Or can you remind yourself not to make me coffee? You will remind yourself to not make me coffee, type 1. And if I remind the goy to not make me coffee, and he says, I know, Rabbi Katz, I know I don't make you coffee. What's the problem? Lafib Shuto, how do you know not to make me coffee? And he says, Lafib Shuto, well, it's Shabbos. What's my response to him, Justin Becker? A non-Jew just told me it's Shabbos, and a non-Jew is supposed to work on Shabbos. And he says now there's some kind of problem with not making me coffee. What's the problem? A goy who keeps Shabbos is Chayav Misa. He keeps Shabbos, doesn't he? Lafib Shuto. Lafib Shuto. Lafib Shuto. The ger doesn't have that problem. I don't have to remind him to kick into effect Lafib Shuto. So if I ask a ger to make me coffee, what is his answer to me? Rabbi Katz, I'm ger toshav. I don't do shituf. I don't make you coffee. And I say, but a goy that keeps Shabbos is chayav misa. Lafib Shuto. He says, don't worry. I do malacha in the open for myself. I don't do malacha for a Jew. Today is the Shabbos day of Israel, and I don't serve idols. I don't serve shituf either. Idolatry from Sinai. Type 1. Type 1. Type 1. Type 1. So when a non-Jew makes Kiddush on Friday night, is he making Shabbos Kiddush like a Jew? A non-Jew made Kiddush on Friday night. Is he sanctifying the Shabbos like a Jew? No, he's not. Because in order to do that, he would have to follow rabbinic construct to do so. By doing so, that is the essence of making a new religion. The ger does not make a new religion. He does not serve in shituf. So if a ger does make kiddush and sanctify over wine, is he acknowledging the Shabbos day as a covenant given to him, or is he celebrating the Shabbos day of Israel and he is contributing to that by not serving idols through not doing shituf, and it comes out as a din that he learned his Torah to not make coffee for a Jew because he is commanded to rest as a ger on Shabbos Lafib Shuto. Type 1. The Nachri cannot make such a claim, can he? The Nachri cannot make any such claim. To do so, he would have to know something that he can't know. Thereby, how does he know it, Lafib Shuto? He stole it. And a non-Jew that keeps Shabbos is Chayav Misa. Type 1. How tight is this, guys? How tight is this? How much more tight does it need to be? Wow, this is tight. It fits like a glove. It fits like a glove. Ain makabelin gerim. This is what we're saying. What does it mean we don't makabel gerim? Bisman she yisro shoyin alam masavi adam the kiva v'roshoyin l'gabel gerim b'shav. When Israel is on their soil and you have a renegade Syrian refugee, he comes to Israel. What does he want from Israel? He wants us to sustain him like a ger toshav. Type 1. And we say that we makabel gerim because we have the upper hand. We makabel gerim. Does that mean we accept, or we treat him like a ger and he's in the infrastructure like a ger? He's in the infrastructure like a ger. Ein makabelin es hager al pi divrav miyad ela medartakin ubaykin achrav shema bishvil sharava sharoya lanu hu oise osha hu misfached le'eza dvar o le'eza siba. We have to check him out, because Syrians go to Israel in the time when we have the upper hand because he's afraid. He doesn't want us to kill him. He doesn't want us to put him in as a slave. So we check him out to make sure he's kosher, and he becomes ger. Type 1. The imart saying labo mechivum idin also o mitzvahs kosher barmas septus yivamis. The im kibum ahava bekaibun oisen. If we see that he loves God and loves the mitzvahs, we're makablin him. Jacques, does makablin mean accept him? Or does it mean we treat him right according to what he has made a Kabbalah between he and God? Thank you. Umatok de barzel lo kibu based in agadol gerim koye me davim v'shlomo shayu choyshil heni me davim shema mefached milcham sav hayim is gairim b'yimei shlomo shema b'shvil. But how do we accept Gerim when we don't accept Gerim in the times of David and Shlomo? You know the Syrians only came to Israel because Israel had the upper hand and he wants status. So he doesn't really love God and the Torah, does he? Type 1, Lafim Shuto. Type 1, Lafim Shuto. Lafim Shuto, this Syrian doesn't love God because he only came because we have the upper hand. Is that literal 1 or Lafim Shuto 2? Is that literally 1 or Lafim Shuto 2? Is that literally 1 or Lafim Shuto 2? Lafim Shuto 2. Lafim Shuto 2, Jacques. We don't know his inner intentions. We're not mind readers. It is Lafim Shuto 2. But if we check and we check him out, we can see really, literally, and not Lafim Shuto, if his heart is in it or not. But we assume, Lafim Shuto, that when we have the upper hand, you're not that serious. Type 1. Mahadin b'di'evin sheniz gayer ger l'shem isha u'mashum mefached. Now, what happens when we have the Kutis, the Kutites, the Sumerians, who become ger out of fear? Right? I took a sword to a Kuti once, and I said, "Become ger, or I'll kill you." And he says, "I'm ger." Is he a kosher ger, Jacques? Even though he only did it out of fear, or is he not a kosher ger? The ritva hatam shageres techal mishum dechazaka sha'agav oinis gam revekilu al aspin geres b'shleimus. Most would say that if I make you a ger, you're ger. Type 1. Type 1, type 1. And who knows the answer? Why does the Rambam say there's no gerim today? Because Rambam says when Rabbi Katz goes to Indonesia with his sword, his samurai sword, and I take captive prisoners, and I say, y'all are ger. Why is the Rambam telling me not to do that? Because the Indonesian government will get mad at me for making gerim against their will, and it could cause harm to Israel. Type 1. And the Ravid argues with the Rambam, and he says, Rambam, this isn't, Rabbi Katz didn't go to Indonesia with a samurai sword to make ger. He went there to spread the 7 laws of Noach. So the Ravid has no problem with ger toshav today. And the Rambam doesn't want ger toshav because it implies a type of conversion, albeit a partial conversion. And that's why the Rambam says, then fine, make them the Chassidio Mosa'ilim. And Rabbi Katz agrees, it's called the Chassidio Mosa'ilim. And the Ask Noah crowd will say, we also hold the Chassidio Mosa'ilim called Noahide. And Rabbi Katz would say, does that entail ger toshav, i.e. rejecting shituf? And they would say, no, we learned it wrong. And I would say, then great, then learn it right. And the Chassidim Olam is part of ger toshav. So why does Rabbi Katz choose ger over Chassidim Olam? Number 1, Chassidim Olam is long, cumbersome, and bulky. Number 2, if we call y'all the Chassidim, the Jewish Chassidim will get upset. And Chassidim Olam is a Talmudic term. And what is the biblical term for Chassidim Olam, Jacques? I.e., what is the Rambam describing Talmudically of Chassidim Olam from the Torah? The ger in your gates, ger asher sharecha. You can shorten that to ger shar, ger of the gate. And you can further shorten it to ger. But converts are called ger too. Well, converts are more appropriately called Jews. And if you want to get specific of what kind of ger is a convert, a ger tzedek. And if you say, well, okay, so then call y'all the ger toshav. But ger toshav implies Jubilee, land of Israel, and Talmudic. So if I want to be more specific, what would I call you? Ger. Thank you for that. All right. And now we go Psak Rambam. Perik Yud Gimel Mehilchos Asuri Bia. Dahavi Gerim of all Hoyisiv Zeh. Based in a Gadol. Okay. Now the Mary Harbin is Gairim Alayim. He made David and Shlomo based in Hedi Isis. Bein Shabru Alayim Gerim Grurim. So what happens when we are not Makablim Gerim? Either because we have a King David And you know you're doing it just because King David's awesome, type 1. King David's awesome, type 1. But right now, we don't have King David. And we have a shvacha oilam. And we're not on the level to check. So whether it's because of King David and you converted out of fear, or because there's no King David and you are converted ger, you know what I'm talking about, right? Convert meaning coming back to ger toshev or ger, whatever it is. And when there's no King David, you would like to be kosher, type 1, but the Jewish people are not prepared to be mekablin, type 1. So just like the days of David and Shlomo, we are not mekablin gerim. You are not mekablin. You're not employed. There's no infrastructure. But we don't hold people back from free will. If they choose the mitzvahs in God from love, what do we call you? Can we prevent you from going to God? No, we cannot. And that's called gerim grurim. You make yourself ger. So what is yet another reason why you're called gerim? Because what do you call a person who returns to God no matter what? Gerim grurim. Grurim means to drag. He's gearing himself at all costs. And again, you shorten gerim grurim into the plural gerim. What's the singular? Ger. It's the gerim grurim yeshak that we call harsh on Israel like thorns or gerim. How many of you have ever heard harsh on Israel like thorns or gerim? Why? Because we're not prepared to take you on. King David says you're only doing it to get in the kingdom. In those times, you're bringing yourself back, and we're not ready. We don't want it. You're uneducated, or you are educated, and blah, 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 blah. Therefore, it's a very difficult time, and we say it's so difficult, it's like a skin disease, type 1. And the other meaning of the word skin disease is davik meod, very gluey. This is why the Ramchal says that the klippas get onto Israel, but the true ger are not klipa, and they attach to Israel. Isaiah 56:3, Jacques say amen, the nilva ger of Isaiah 56:3, and that's what we're talking about. The kosher gerim glorim are the nilva ger, and the non-kosher gerim glorim are called the Erev Rav, and they're not Bnei HaNecher, which is the nilva. They're the Ben Necher, which is the antagonist. Hey, Justin, is this tight enough? And then we go on. In the days of the Messiah, we have to check the non-Jews extra special, and we don't have a Beis Din today to inspect them. So what does the Ramchal say? That in the end of days, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring the Gerim Grurim and the Kates Mashiach. The end days of the Messiah is a natural checking process. Right now, there's Gerim happening, and we are not inspecting. But who is running the show? Who's making Gerim? And who's inspecting Gerim? The King of Kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we're not accepting Gerim. We don't accept Gerim. But what if because they're harsh on Israel like thorns? We don't want Asher Mesa coming into our camp, type 1. But what if we know that their end game is to be for the sake of heaven? I know that Jacques is a good geezer, type 1. And he's for the sake of heaven, type 1. Then we are allowed to makabel him. We can makabel Jacques. Even if Jacques has an ulterior motive. But at least he's for the sake of heaven. We can even still makabel him. For example, Jacques is delusional, God forbid, and wants to be a Kohen Gadol, because Jacques read in the Torah a non-Jew who learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. And Jacques says, I too want to be a Kohen Gadol. And he really means it. And he takes on the 7 laws. I, David Katz, even today can makabel Jacques. And then I would teach him, Jacques, it's Lafib Shuto. And he would say, Amen. All right. Gerim the Boim Atzman, they come by themselves, and they come to meet Lehit Gayer, they come to become Gayer. Mashma the Loki Yavetz, okay. And Gerim Gurim, the Moral, the Low, below Mila, the Enam Gerim Mamish, Rock, Damim, Atzmim, Yisrael. They're not coming to be true converts. They're coming without circumcision. They're not Gerim Mamish. They only want to link themselves to Israel. And those are the ones that are coming. If they're doing it right, they're makabel even today. And if they're wrong, they're harsh on Israel like thorns. That's the Green Book. And now we will conclude today's lesson with the Vilna Gaon in his commentary on Esther. It says in the Vilna Gaon, in his commentary on Esther. And look in the Vilna Gaon, chapter 8, verse 17. People from each and every city and country of the king took on the Jewish faith. And many of the Amei Aretz Misyahadim, many of the simpletons and ignorant, they became Jewish. That's what it would say if you read it in an art scroll. Do you want to know what the Vilna Gaon says? Type 1. What does it mean that many from the ignorant, Me'amei Aretz, or better yet, the unlearned, or the non-Jewish dot, as in Dalet Tov Jewish faith? Perish, Kilo Kiblu Osa, Kamosha Amru, Shem Mekablin Gerim B'Yamei Mordechai. When you get a non-Jew who is not Jewish faith, you do not bring him in. Type 1. Because in the days of Mordechai, they were not Mekablim Gerim. V'od shelo ayu Gerim Gemorim, Kilo Nizgairu Ela Michmas Pacha. These are not true converts to Judaism, because they're only coming because of fear. So you can say Gerim Gemorim, they're not only are they not converts, but they're suspect if they're even Ger non-Jew, like we just read in the Green Book, type 1. Ulakach kasiv misyahadim sha'asu atzman ki Yehudim. Therefore, the verse is telling you which ger is it. Are they good ger, bad ger, full converts, not full converts, Erev Rav? Because it says they became Yehudim. It says they became Yehudim, which generally people think so Yehudi is a Jew. The Talmud Megillah says anyone rejecting idolatry is called a Yehudi. So why is it saying they're the Yehudim here? That they made themselves like Yehudim. Aval be'emes einam Yehudim gemurim. But in truth, they're not true Jews. Why? Because they weren't coming to convert to Judaism or become new kinds of Jews. They saw the awesomeness going on. And we are suspect if they're coming from fear in that, is it awe? Or is it they're afraid we're going to kill him? Even Bedi Evid, on a lesser level, if they're just afraid we're going to kill him, they are kosher ger. All the more so, if their intentions are right, they're still ger, but they're brought in, they're endorsed, they're not harsh on Israel like thorns. They're gerim, they're makablin. Thank you for listening. I hope this was informative, interesting, and we're going into Passover, and we are going to be free. May everybody merit to come out from Klippa, do the tikkun to the Klippas Noige, and witness the divine hand of Hashem in the world, making gerim to the result, God willing, of the revelation of the righteous Messiah quickly in our days to end the exile and redeem the world, when Torah study will be free to be taught and learned all over mankind in a clear tongue, as it says in Sophania 3:9. And we will see the B'nai HaNecher keeping the Shabbos in the temple for all peoples. Thank you.